Ladies and gentlemen of the beautiful crypto space, the past couple of days have been very uneventful. That's like the best way I can put it. And even though usually I'm not really that big a fan of saying that things are boring, they have been rather boring. But ultimately, I think that's for the better. And I think that in the wake of that, it also creates opportunities for people to dive in deeper into the more fundamental parts instead of just looking superficially at price action. And one of the cryptos that a lot of you guys know and love, XRP, has got some pretty interesting news that popped up over the past couple of days here, specifically when it comes to its future. Now, to be very blunt, XRP is a crypto I've made like 1,000 videos on. I'm still holding a very good chunk of, but as you guys might have seen from my recent videos, I've not really been buying too much more of. That mostly has to do with where we are in the crypto cycle, and mostly because they still have an ongoing lawsuit. And that lawsuit is one of the primary parts that makes investing in XRP at this point rather cumbersome. Not because it's hard to find. No, for me it's pretty easy to buy. I only mean that there just keeps being more of a deadline and further away deadline to it, that I think a lot of the hype just went away, and we need that spark to rekindle before I get really excited again. What I mean with that is, even though I'm still a massive holder, I'm waiting for that next push of excitement, which will most likely come either when this is all finished, which the update here is about, or perhaps when the market just starts ticking up and we cross $1, something along those lines, or just a full-fledged alt season starts and everything gets exciting. But either way, any of those I'd be very excited for. Having said that, actually, before I dive into all this, if you've not done it yet, make sure you go ahead and press that like, but more importantly, let me know in the comment section if you're still holding XRP. I asked it recently, but I've noticed in times where the market's not so good, the comment section is filled with a lot of these scam artists saying, oh, this coin, that coin. But most people that are in the real communities, they hide away. They stop commenting. A couple of you real ones comment under every video. But just let me know if you're still alive and still holding out there. If you've sold everything, all good. Just let me know for fun. Having said that, don't put in the comments how much you have. Never smart to do. I digress. The 𝗵𝗫 the chief legal officer, says the US SEC has abandoned its absurd demand for $2 billion. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a very big thing. So what has basically just happened is that we were all talking about XRP in the context of them being in a lawsuit where the SEC could potentially demand billions of dollars from Ripple, which ultimately might needed to have come from XRP sales, which people didn't like the idea of, which, got people a little bit bearish on it. That claim, that penalty, that issue could now be thrown at least partially out of the window, as again, the claim for $2 billion by the SEC has now been quote unquote lessened. So a little bit earlier this week, we had ourselves some massive news about Terraform Labs. Those are the guys behind Luna and Anchor and everything, and they had to pay $4.5 billion worth of a settlement. And every time I read that, I keep thinking about the crazy sums of money that I lost in the whole Terraform debacle. And I still wonder if I'm going to ever see $1 of that back. But since the value lost there was what, 60 billion or something? I don't think so. But in lieu of that, in lieu of, the crazy numbers coming out of the Terraform Labs case, Ripple Labs filed a notice of supplemental authority to demand the court's rejection of that fine, of the fine that was given to Ripple, or at least proposed. Ripple argued that Gary Gensler's led SEC is known to levy fines that are far from reality. Beyond this, the blockchain payments firm reiterated that the $2 billion the SEC is demanding from it are way too huge compared to the volume of trade involved in the lawsuit. The SEC obviously had an opposition to this supplemental notice with a diverse argument. First, it noted that it charged just $4.5 billion in settlement in consideration for Terraform Labs bankruptcy, and it was this filing that the Ripple CLO jumped on, noting the SEC's notion that Ripple agreeing to nothing is wrong. Admiralty recalled that Judge Annalise Torres ruled that XRP is not a security last year. In addition, he noted that in the Ripple XRP sales, there were no victims. Because ultimately, if we really start looking at what the whole lawsuit is about, it's like kind of grade A retard. It's stupid. Let's just say that in the nicest of words. Because I think ultimately the only ones that were hurt by all of this, if we're taking a look at the SEC's filings, is companies, really? And even then, I guess, even though some declarations might have been wrong or so, who was really hurt anywhere in the process? I don't think anybody. Because even all of those that took up on business and might have been misled, if we can argue that, they could have still made money here. It's not like they lost everything. So, whereas with Terra, we're down bad. Anyway, so it was in lieu of all of that the SEC argued that it chose a more relaxed settlement with Terraform Labs because the firm was closing its business. To Adroti, this shows bad faith from the SEC, who clearly have issues with Ripple Labs' thriving business. And so in the whole ordeal, Ripple basically said, oh, you know what? We're basically fine with paying you like, what, $10 million or so? And the SEC said, wait, we want like at least $102 million. But that's still like only 5% of the $2 billion that was asked before. Now, when looking at the actual details and how they come to all these numbers, I don't want to say this is like higher math because it's very simple ratios, but I personally don't know how penalties should be even remotely comparable between Terraform Labs and Ripple's. I don't even know how anybody could even decide to even slightly bring up that argument, or I should say bring up an argument for that would be solid. Because you might argue, well, you know, Terra wanted to close everything down, but at the end of the day, Terra, and I don't want to say something that's not true, but in my opinion, basically just straight up scammed everybody. Whereas with Ripple, you know, some disclosures were not proper, but it's not really that big a deal ultimately. Then again, even Ripple goes into some sort of argument here at the bottom as to why things should be compared. Ultimately, though, you know, when thinking about this, who gives a crap about why, what, when it comes to them deciding the numbers? Like, it doesn't really matter to us. All I think that really matters is, what is XRP going to do because of this? And the simplest answer, unfortunately, is almost nothing. And I'd say a world where Ripple either has to pay no fine or it's a really small one, and $100 million is a really small fine for them, as huge a company as they are, it would all just help XRP, most likely, perform better over the next few months. That does not mean it's a guaranteed strike, and it does not mean the moment that it's going to be a small fine or anything like that we're going to see a massive pump. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm just being honest. The last couple of times there was this massive news for XRP, the price also didn't budge too much. And now I know that at those events, the market wasn't in the craziest of spots, and right now we're pretty bullish. But let's be realistic here. There's probably going to be another piece of shenanigans where exactly that day, Bitcoin's price goes down by like 8%, altcoins are building like 20%, the whole market is red, and the next RP is up 5%. So in theory, it's like outperforming the market by 25%, but still it does kind of nothing. Oh, that's just my honest feel for what's going to happen if this is all over and done with. But ultimately, though, if you had bought it for a longer term vision, then these are like little checklists or little check boxes that have to be checked, obviously. And for all of that, this is a very important stepping stone. And so, you know, the fact that the CLON guys are talking about getting this number lowered and from 2 billion to 102 million, yeah, it is a really big and really beautiful deal. Again, from everything that I've read here, I still think 100 million is quite high. And ultimately, if you're wondering, that's basically what phase we're in right now. We are waiting for the judge, and I guess a couple of back and forwards, but we're waiting for the judge to make a decision on what exactly Ripple has to pay in terms of fines. Anyway, I'm also just quite interested. Are you guys interested still in all these Ripple-related updates? Because when I look at them most of the time, I'm like, oh, okay. But I guess when it comes to tech, so if there's some crazy new announcement made of what they want to change about the ledger or whatever, I think it's still quite exciting and interesting. But I'm being realistic when I say, yes, I care about longevity, the longer term plan and the ideals, but I also care a lot about price action just because it's where a lot of the fun lies. And I think crypto, it's serious investment, sure, but it's also a good part of just the craziest time of our lives here. Because I don't know if there's ever going to be an asset class this interesting that we're so deeply invested into, money-wise, but mostly just time-wise as well. But what I mean mostly just, if we're thinking more money-wise, it's just, from most perspective, wiser to focus on whatever's hotter at the time. And XRP just ain't the hottest of things right now. That doesn't mean, though, that I've given up or sold, but perhaps, and I just want to be real with you and I want your feedback on this, perhaps I'm being the crazy one for holding on to the old dreams. because everybody's given up. But I don't think so. But I just want to see in the comment section what you guys are thinking of. Once more, I'm not really second guessing myself. It's not like if I see 10 comments of people saying sell that I would. I'm not I'm not that type of person, you know. I got a backbone. I got a strong, I don't know where I was going with that one. Strong will, I guess, you know, an iron will, really. And when I place my investments, you know, it's only a very small portion of just shits and giggles. A lot of it is a lot more thinking, I think, than many people realize. Because I'm making it mostly seem like a joke, but you obviously have to weigh these things off. Which is why I've said multiple times, selling XRP, for a lot of people, I understand why you do it. Even if you're at a loss, I understand why you do it. Just like how you could sell right now. Almost any altcoin that's not Bitcoin, Ether, or perhaps some of the AI, RWA, Bitcoin ecosystem coins, just because of theories I've described 1,000 times before. But yeah, mostly it's been a lot more boring than like 2 years ago when we had these constant lawsuit updates every single day. And because there's not as much hype and not as much community craziness as before. And I do sometimes wonder, can it get that glory back of earlier? I'm expecting it will once the price starts going because the XRP people are the best and craziest people. But only time will tell, and I have patience because I personally see this as a more longer term idea. And I obviously also have to give people this idea in the head. It's not all about the next couple of days, couple of weeks. For a lot of people, this crypto stuff moves too fast. You don't want to be chasing the trend after trend every single day or every single week. You just want to kind of look at your little list of things and think, which of these will still be around multiple years from now? Which of these will give me a return, probably, of let's say 5x or so in 5 years? Because for many people, that is just fine enough. They don't need a 10,000x within 3 months, which is why they're gambling everything away on meme coins and stuff. Anyways, not your financial advisor, just sharing my thoughts, sharing my journey, and some news here and there, and that's about it for now.